right, before we get into this next chapter, we need to talk about one brief thing you learned about in Algebra 1. And I know, before we get into it, I don't remember anything from Algebra 1. I don't want to hear it. Um, this you probably didn't spend very long on, but it is something that is tied to Algebra 1, and we'll talk about when we talk about the definition here. So we're going to talk about direct variation. So you can just kind of title this 7-1 preparation or prep for 7-1, direct variation. So we need a definition. So the definition for direct variation is an equation in the form of, or maybe that can be arranged or written in the form of, y equals ax. So direct variation, anything that can be rearranged or written in the form of y equals ax. The reason this is something you talk about in Algebra 1 is think about what this is like. Well, this is really just a linear equation. What is a linear equation? Oh, please tell me this is a one thing from Algebra 1 we do remember. Linear equation is y equals mx plus b. That's a one thing whenever I usually ask for a question from Algebra 1. That's what people say. Well, these are the same things except the b isn't there. That just means the b is 0. Since it's this special form, instead of calling the m or referring to the slope as m, I should say we have this special name for it. We call it a. The a is the constant of variation. It's the slope when we're talking about it in terms of a linear equation. And to find the a, because it is this special linear equation, we just have to do y divided by x instead of having to do that slope formula, because there is a y-intercept. Or I guess technically there is a y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0. It has to be 0 for these direct variation equations. So again, you said there were some issues with the pause, so I'm going to try and leave this here a little bit longer. Also, if I have time, hopefully I'm going to try and get this up on YouTube to give you a couple different options to use that. This video should be a little bit shorter though, so hopefully there won't be those issues. All right, so we know all this stuff. We're going to use these just to do different types of problems. The problems should go pretty quickly, and the thing to remember is the problems usually have two parts to them. Two easy parts, but make sure you're usually doing two things, answering two different questions within one problem. So like this first one, we're going to graph and write a direct variation equation. So graph, and then we're going to write an equation. And the solution or the information we're given is an ordered pair. So what I would do is in my notes, I'd put graph and write equation, and I'd put -2, 4. I'm okay if you just want to sketch the graph. If you have graph paper, great. If you need graph paper, it's on the front of the table. You're welcome to it. So the first thing we're thinking of is we have these two pieces of information at our disposal. Trying out a new slate. It's working a little bit more touchy than the old one, so a little bit different with my pen as well. So thinking about I need to write an equation, it needs to look like this. Well, what's missing, what I need to figure out what the a is. Since I have the x and y, I'm going to plug into this formula. So I'm going to say a is equal to y divided by x, and I'm going to say a is equal to -2. I would like to see you plug in here, so use that formula. You don't have to show me what that is, but I want to see you plug in. And so, a is -2, you could just say that. And then show me the equation. So the equation is y equals -2x. There's my answer. On the next one, I'll show you just the bare bones, because I know some of you like to know bare minimums, what you have to write down, what I would expect to see on a homework or quiz question. So then when I go to graph, I know all of these equations are going to cross at the y-intercept of 0, or at the origin. And then I look for my slope, which again is the a, or just that number. Negative slope, remember my line should be going down, rise over run. So I go down 2, right 1. My line, again, it should be going down. Down 2, right 1. But remember, you could also go up to left 1 if you want. 2 points is enough. I usually like to do 3, but as long as you have 2 points and you make your line, that's okay. Next one, graph and write an equation again. Solution 12, 4. Bare minimum is what I would need. I would want to see A is equal to y divided by x, so 4 over 12. You can reduce it in your head, your calculator, that's 1/3. So I would say y equals 1/3 over x. Some of you may ask, and this is something I don't want you to write down, so I'm going to put it in a different color over here. Can I write this as x over 3? We don't write linear equations like that. We want to have that fraction in front because that really emphasizes the rise over run. So we do want to write it like this. Bare minimum is what I expect. Now we're going to graph it. Again, just a small sketch, but if you're sketching it, don't just do this and then, oh, up over 1, up 3, about here. I would expect to see some hash marks so I could kind of tell that you did a rise and a run. So don't just make 2 lines. I do need to see some hash marks so I could tell. I have my graph paper here, obviously. So there's the origin. Right 1, up 3. Rise over, oh, whoa, whoa, Miss Hope. No. Rise over run. Did it wrong over there too, so definitely ignore that. So rise, up 1, over 3. Rise over run, rise over run. I feel like I better go back and look at this. Did I do rise over run? Yes, rise, run. So I was okay on that one. So up 1, over 3, up 1, over 3, rise over run. Next one, new type of problem. No graphing. So we're moving on to a new type. Again, going to be 2 things we have to do. Again, we're going to write an equation. Again, they're going to put in the directions direct variation, but that's all we're doing in this section. So it's always going to say direct variation. And then we're going to find y. And they're going to give us an x value. So for my directions in my notes, I would probably put write equation, and then I'd put find y. So you know where this is coming from. I'd probably put x equals 12. And then instead of writing it like this, I would probably just put 3, 9 instead of having to write all that. Well, we just talked about how to write an equation. So let's start there. So again, bare minimum if you want. But again, the first one I'm going to show a little bit more work. So again, these are the 2 things I'm working with. You want to make sure you're getting these memorized. So a is y over x. I got to find that first so I can write my equation. So a is equal to, that's a 9, not an a. So 9 divided by 3. So my a is 3. You have to write your equation. This is the step I'll have people forget because they get so excited. That's what I like to think. I know it's not true. But they get so excited about finding y, they want to do that. But I need to see the equation. So y is equal to 3x. There's my equation. Done. Now find y when x is 12. Well, that's just a simple matter of substituting in. So make sure you plug it in for the right variable they're giving you. So 3 times 12. I wouldn't need to see that step. And again, I'll show you on the next one, bare minimum of what I want to see. So x is equal to 36. And I can really, even on this one, go back and show you bare minimum of what I want to see. I wouldn't need to see any of this. You'd plug in. I wouldn't have to see this. You'd show me the equation. I wouldn't have to see this. And you'd show me that x equals. So really, I'd need to see 3 little lines. A lot of us, I think it's helpful. You don't really need this. I think it's helpful to show what you have it is equal to, show the plugging in, and show that. All right, now we're going to find x when y is 4. Again, we're given a set, and you're always going to be given a set or an ordered pair if you want to think of it like that. Still going to write an equation. I always want to do that first. So I'm going to take those. I'm going to find my a. So it's always y divided by x. So a is -2. Don't forget to write your equation. People will, again, jump in and try and find that first. So my equation is y equals -2x. Now, ooh, I'm going to plug in here. You don't have to, but man, if you're plugging in for y, I think it's beneficial to show that so you divide in the right way, right order. So I got to divide by -2. So x is equal to -2. Sometimes if you don't write that step down, you end up dividing by 4 and you're going to get the wrong answer. Next one. Again, if your pause button is working, maybe pause and try it on your own. I'll try and pause a little bit, see if you can at least get ahead of me, and try it on your own, and then maybe I catch up to you. So you're going to write the equation, then you're going to find x again when I give you y is 8. Ordered pair is -1, -3. And again, we saw it. Your a can be a fraction. It's not in this one. So our a is +3. Again, don't forget your equation. Y is equal to 3x. Hopefully you got that. Got my equation. Plug in for y. So 8 is equal to 3x. Ooh, my x is kind of ugly. 8/3. I'd be okay if you wrote it as 2 2/3. But remember, I do not want you to write that as a decimal. Use your fractions. All right, so you got your two answers. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to tell if the equation represents direct. So what I would write as directions is I'd put direct ? If so, you're going to name the constant of variation. So maybe put constant or constant of variation ? So sometimes two parts, sometimes not. If the answer is yes, you name the constant. If it's not, you don't. If you don't want to write out constant of variation, you could put a equals ? That's another way you could shorthand it. Well, these hopefully could go pretty quickly. If it's going to be direct variation, remember our definition? We have to have an equation that can be in that form. So we have to transform it into that. I'll let you show as little or as much work as you want. Before, and I guess I should preface this, if you're going to say yes or no. After you say yes, then you're going to have to show some more work. You're going to have to get it in this representation. If you say no, you can say no right off the bat and move on. All right, let's look at this one. Oh man, that's already there. So I'm going to say yes right off the bat because it is in the correct form. I can already tell if you really need it there. Oh yeah, a is 4. So the constant of variation, you can just put a is 4. The next one, y equals 2/3 x plus 7. Is there any way to take this and to make it look just like that? No. Now, it's not going to ask you to name y, but if I wanted to, the reason this one wouldn't be direct is because it has a y-intercept other than 0. It's because of that 7. Maybe underline it just for your notes. You don't have to explain on the homework. Next one, same directions. You don't need to write them again. 4y equals 5x. Some of you can tell from looking at it. Some of you are going to need to solve. Think about it. What do we need to solve for? We're going to want to solve for y to be able to decide. So how do you move that 4? We want to divide by 4. So when I divide by 4, remember, those things are detached. So I'm going to write this as 5/4 times x. Oh yeah, that's in the right form. So it's yes. And my a is 5/4. Even if you knew from right here that this was going to be yes, you still need to solve. Even if you knew your a was 5/4, I still want you to solve. So if the answer is yes, then really not only do I want you to name, but I also want you to solve. So I'm making the directions a little bit more specific. Direct? If so, name the constant of variation. 3x minus y equals 5. I'm not really sure. Some of you are. If you are, you can answer. And if it's no, you can move on. But I'm going to pretend I don't know. So that means I want to solve for y. That means I would subtract 3x. So I'd have negative y equals negative 3x plus y. Sorry, plus 5. Maybe here you know. If here you know, you could answer and move on. I'm struggling today. I still don't know. So I'm going to divide by 1. Y equals 3x. It's not because of that negative 5. On any of these steps, if you're confident that the answer is no, you can put no and move on. If you recognize that you are going to have that constant value up here, again, I'm okay if you said no up here and you moved on. But you got to be confident. All right, so this one, I've got 2y minus 4x equals 3x. Some of you maybe are starting to notice whether it's going to be or not before we start to solve. Some of us, it takes solving. So let's see. We want to get the x's together. So I'm going to add 4x. Let me go over here because I'm going to run out of room. So we're going to get 2y equals 7x. Divide by 2. Oh, it looks like it's going to be, and it is, y equals 7 over 2x. So my answer is yes. A is 7 over 2. And just like when we're dealing with linear equations, because it is a linear equation, we want this to be improper because we want to be able to see that rise over run if we are going to lead to a graph. Next one, 5x minus y equals 2x plus 7. Some of us see it right away. Some of us we have to solve. Let's move our x over. Negative y equals negative 3x plus 7. Oh, it looks like I'm going to have that 7 hanging out. Divide by negative 1 if you have to be sure. I do, so my answer is no. I would move on. Again, if you saw it up here that you had this 7, there's no 7 over here to cancel it out. You could say no here and you can move on. These probably, the next ones maybe have a lot of work too. But again, once you get the hang of it, not a ton of work. This one may be a little tricky. Kind of led into it if you were paying attention on what I said on the last one. 3x minus 8 equals 2x minus 8 plus y. Well, the y's over here. So I'm going to subtract 2x. I'm going to move this 8 at the same time. So I'm going to get x. My 8's going to cancel on both sides. This one is the one you have to be careful of. I saw that constant, that number by itself. So right off the bat, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be not direct. But since the 8's canceled, it was. What's the A? Oh, yeah. The A is 1. Okay, last type of problem. We're going to decide whether it's direct. And if so, we're going to write the equation. Again, 2 parts. We're going to be given a table. And we're actually going to make a 3rd column. So take a second and jot that table down. Try to take drinks of my water in between, make sure you have time. Most of you like to write those up and down. For some reason, you prefer horizontally, side to side. You're welcome to. So to tell whether or not it's direct, we've got x's and y's. If our a value, which we know is y over x, is consistent all the way down, then we're good. So that's why I made this 3rd column of y divided by x. As soon as I get an a that's different, then I abort, then it's not direct. But if all of these are the same, it's direct, and I have my a value, and I can write my equation. You have to make sure you do y divided by x, because otherwise you're going to have your wrong a value. So it's negative 1/3, negative 1/3 when I reduce, negative 1/3 when I reduce, negative 1/3 when I reduce, negative 1/3 when I reduce. If you'd rather write this as negative 2/6, negative 3/9, and reduce after you divide, that's okay too. I don't care which you show me, but you have to show me one. So they are all the same. So then your equation, you take that a value, y equals negative 1/3 x. If you don't specifically say yes, that's okay. If I see that column matching, technically we're supposed to say yes. But either one of those things will tell me yes if you forget to actually say it. Next one, x and y column, and I'm going to have my y over x column. Same question. As you're copying this down, what you might start to notice is I have 1/7, 2/9. As soon as I see these are different, I don't care about the rest of the table. As soon as two of them are different, my answer is no, so then I can't write an equation and I stop. So as soon as you get a pair that don't match, it could be the first two, you could have the first three match and then the fourth one, then you stop. It could be the first four, and if the fifth one doesn't match, then the answer is no. So as soon as you get one that doesn't match, you put no and you stop. All right, so those are all the different types of questions. Again, as you notice, all the questions have two things you're doing. The exception would be things like this or things like this. If we say no to something, then we might not have a second part. All right, so we're going to skip that. You're going to be looking at that direct worksheet. There are numbers at the top of each side. I am not going to collect that. So you can do it on the worksheet. You don't have to do all of those numbers. But again, I would practice, because what we're going to look at Monday is we are going to look at inverse, which is, about inverses. It's kind of the opposite of this. So we want to make sure we really understand direct, because then when we kind of flip this around, we want to make sure we understand the relationship, and we want to make sure we can go back and forth between both. So see you guys on Monday, and we will talk about both of these things.